Hey guys, thank you for joining us. We are joined by John, Skyler. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing today?
We're good, man. It's freezing over here. We've got snow, wind, ice. It's like Game of Thrones at the moment. We've got the lot of her here, but
It really
it's
is.
horrible.
It really is a lot like Game of Thrones at the moment. We are in the north of England, which I know you're familiar with. You're actually quite familiar with Hull as well. Being good friends with Nathan Cruz, I know.
Yeah, I've been all over Hull and all over the UK, and I always enjoy coming over there, even if it is snowing or like it is now. Like, sometimes I can swallow the thought of bad weather if it means I'm gonna have a good time in front of some of the best fans in the world. So
hey, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How was your obviously? 'Cause I know you've been over here working with Nathan, NGW, which is our home promotion. What was that like working over here with that promotion?
It was like the ultimate learning experience, and I try to encourage guys to go over there and wrestle all the time, just because over there when the world was obviously not shut down, you're gonna get more experience than you'll ever get anywhere because you're wrestling every day, especially in the summertime. So it's also cool to see a lot of the untapped potential of talent over there, like the Lucas Steels and at the time Rampage Brown and so many other guys that are just light years ahead of their time that should be making a lot of money, and they're gonna make a lot of money. Getting the chance to work with a lot of those guys was also a pleasure.
Yeah, you always hear about like you mentioned when you're wrestling in the summertime in the UK, it's a daily thing, if not twice a day, because you're hitting up all the camps, and it can be quite a way to fast track experience for a lot of guys. Like if you're wrestling twice a day, 5 times a week, for 2 or 3 months on end, that's such a good way of learning from so many people. We've spoken to Dean Allmark before, and Nathan, and a lot of people have done the camps and have said it's the best learning experience they can get, especially for guys coming over to from the States, because it is a completely different environment to what you get over there as well.
Yeah, and you get reps in when you're wrestling every day, and your mind becomes sharp. You become very confident. You can only get so much experience if you only wrestle once a week.
Yeah.
So if you get the opportunity to wrestle over there, especially on the camps, I always tell guys to take it, just because when you come back over here, you're just going to be so polished, and like I said, your mind will be sharp. You'll be confident, and like any kind of scenario that gets thrown your way, you'll always be prepared.
I'm going to ask this now. I mean, I know you worked for All Star Wrestling. Did you get to meet Brian Dixon?
Oh, I very much got to meet Brian Dixon, and he's very.
I've got to ask this question now. So
Don't.
I ask everybody who comes on, regardless of where they're from, if you've met Brian Dixon, chances are you've heard Nathan do his Brian Dixon impression. And do you want to give us a go at doing a Brian Dixon impression?
I don't know if mine is going to be as good as Nathan's, but I'll kind of set the stage for this real quick, because this is actually something that Brian said, because I hadn't seen Brian in a while until the last time I was over there, which was this time last year. And I walked into a show with Nathan, and Brian said, "Oh, hello, Nathan. Who's this reprobate you have with you?" So,
it's like he's in the room. That was good.
Yeah. I've had to work at it too, just because so many guys have a spot on Dixon.
You got the facial and everything spot on. Like,
yeah.
I knew he was going to ask you that.
What a guy! An absolute legend.
A living legend.
Yeah.
I mean, that was spot on, dude. That was a fantastic impression. I know when we had Nathan, we did an interview with Nathan face to face, and it's like he transformed into Brian. It was just incredible.
Brian, doesn't he?
Yeah, a lot of times we pass a lot of time just talking like Brian and others every now and then, so it's always a good laugh.
Oh man, but moving obviously back to the States and stuff. The injury. I mean, how are you doing after the injury? Because it was a nasty injury you had.
Yeah, I tore my ACL, my MCL, and my PCL
back
last June, and had surgery to fix it last June, and just got cleared just a few weeks ago. So I've had a couple matches back already. I've had a couple matches on AEW Dark, and then also recently did an independent show where I got to wrestle Eric Young, and that was a really good test because it's a singles match. We had a 15-minute match, and that was a real good test for me to see where I was at in terms of my knee, and everything feels good, and I feel strong, and still working on getting my cardio and stuff back, getting back in ring shape. So that's been the biggest challenge, but I'm excited to be back in the mix.
Well, what a great way for you to come back, though. I know you were out with a pretty serious injury, but you've come back and not wasted any time. Like you said, you had a match with Eric Young. You've done matches with AEW Dark. And that was one thing we were really excited to see, because AEW Dark's such a good platform to find talent which haven't had that chance yet. And I feel like with you, it was like only a matter of time until you pop up on AEW Dark. So I believe it was it the Gun Club you got to go against at one point?
Yeah, that was my first. That was actually my first.
That's one I remember the most. Yeah. But what a great way to come in, the Gun Club. I mean, what was that like for you, getting to not only wrestle for AEW but against someone like Billy Gunn as well?
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity to wrestle Billy quite a few times, and I actually was joking about this with a lot of the guys in the locker room, just because I said, if you would have asked me as a kid, I would have never expected to wrestle Billy Gunn this many times in my life. So it's always fun to be in again and sharing the ring with Billy, and this time getting the chance to do it with his son Colton, who's only had maybe a dozen matches or so.
Yeah.
It was fun, and it's fun again to be in that mix on AEW Dark, because it's such an opportunity for a guy like me who still hasn't really had a run yet, who's looking to get noticed. It's the ultimate platform, and I think people underestimate the power and the reach of AEW Dark because it's on YouTube, and it's not on a network or on a cable station or whatever.
Everyone can get it.
Yeah, anybody anywhere in the world can get it.
If you've got a phone, a laptop, you can watch AEW Dark. It's arguably it's got potential to be their biggest platform. Like, it's the most easily accessed.
Sure.
It might not be on TV, but everyone can watch it. So
100%. The global reach, like I said, of AEW Dark is just amazing, and conceivably we could potentially have over millions and millions of viewers. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we spoke to Mike Werner the other night as well, and obviously we mentioned Billy Gunn to him, and we'll say the same to you. I mean, how good does Billy look for 57 years of age?
I think he works out every now and then.
You reckon?
Yeah, just for 85, he doesn't look too bad.
He doesn't look bad at all, man. Just going back as well. Obviously, you mentioned like coming back from injury, getting to face a guy like Eric Young. I know since Eric left WWE, he seems rejuvenated back in Impact. What was it like working with Eric? Because I think he's a very underrated guy.
Yeah, me and Eric have crossed paths a few times in various, companies, and never had the chance to work together. So this was actually the first time we got the chance to meet each other in the ring, and it was like we had worked each other 1,000 times or wrestled each other 1,000 times, just because when you're in there with a pro like him, I mean, it's just so easy. And we just we're in Lyons, Georgia, in the backwoods of Georgia. And so I think those fans are still waiting on Hulkamania to come through. So it was very, very easy. And, we just had a good time. Again, it was a great test for me just because we had 15 minutes to go out and wrestle. Like, I think I posted on social media a picture of the match, and it was literally two pro wrestlers wrestling on a wrestling show for a wrestling championship. And that's something, that unfortunately kind of gets glossed over these days, the wrestling part. So it was a good time. And I'm pretty sure that match is going to happen again very soon.
I hope so, man. I mean, that's one hell of a match that I'd like to see again and again. But saying that, I mean, obviously with AEW, with Impact, now New Japan, I mean, from yourself, from a fan point, let alone a talent point, I mean, how exciting is it for you to see all these companies working together?
It's great because I think the cool thing that gets lost on a lot of fans is the boys, no matter what company you're in, it's a tight-knit community. It's a tight fraternity. So I'm happy for my friends that are successful at Impact. I'm happy for my friends that are successful at New Japan. I'm happy for my friends that are successful at WWE. And it's all vice versa. Like I think people think just because somebody works for a different company, you're not supposed to like them or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could be truth. Yeah. It's an exciting time in the wrestling business, especially when, this time last year, there was so much uncertainty going on with everything being shut down. I think if anything, we're going to see a huge turn in a positive way, like an upswing for professional wrestling here soon. And I'm just excited again to have the opportunity to be where I'm at and at least be in the mix and have options.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's you could have said it better. Some fans unfortunately seem to think because they have beef with other fans that the wrestlers must have beef with each other as well. When really, like you said, you're just happy your friends are working and they're just happy you're working too. You're all pro wrestlers. I'm sure you're a tight community. You just want to see each other do well. It's the fans who have that mentality of, oh, well, it's got to be one versus the other. When really, like you said, it's so exciting that now all these companies are working together. You might end up working for AEW, but that means you can then go to New Japan or, Impact or something. That's really cool. Would you have a preference? I mean, I know you're doing work with AEW right now. Is that somewhere you want to go back to?
Yeah, I'm really happy where I'm at right now and the opportunities that AEW have given me, and also just, I don't think it's any secret. They were very, very gracious to me while I was injured. And so that's something that I will never lose sight of. And because 10, 15 years ago, that would not have been the case. It doesn't matter where it would have been at as a professional wrestler for the company to be as gracious as they were to me during my injury. I mean, that speaks leaps and bounds, or that's, speaks highly of the kind of heart, first and foremost, that the people that are in charge have in terms of the care that they administer to their athletes. So, I'm excited. And then, just touching and going back to the match with Eric Young, if people want to check that out, it's going to be airing on the Impact Plus network.
Awesome.
Streaming service with the Lariato Pro company that is actually run by the big LG Luke Gallows. And so people can check it out on Impact Plus. And it's also cool because if you're a fan of me, you don't know where I'm going to pop up next. And that's another exciting aspect of pro wrestling right now.
Oh yeah, man. Obviously, we spoke to Gallows and Anderson before the first Talking Shop of Mania as well. I mean, how funny is the big LG, man?
He's one of my dearest friends, and you can't have a bad time around him. He's never in a bad mood, and if you're in a bad mood, he's going to be the first person to cheer you up. Like, he's just the funniest guy ever, and it's just I don't know if you guys are fans of The Office or the American version, but me and a few of my friends have discovered that Luke Gallows is Todd Packer from The Office.
Yes.
I get that.
That's the best way to describe him. It's just so absurd, so over the top, but just such a good time and so fun to be around.
Yeah, man. I can't speak for Callum. I actually prefer the US version of The Office. I think it's far superior to the one we've got. But I can totally agree. I see it now. You've mentioned that. I can see Todd Packer, a big LG. Yeah. Is Todd Packer? Is it David Kirkner who plays Todd Packer?
Yeah.
I totally see that, man. Totally see that. But I mean, again, speaking of someone like Luke Gallows, well, we spoke to a lot of people who, he's hilarious, but the amount of people have said to us that he's got such a creative mind for the business. Is that something you've noticed as well, being around him?
Oh yeah, he's ever since. So I met Gallows when he got released from WWE the first time, and literally that would have been in 2010, maybe. And literally 2 days later, he had an independent booking. Like, he didn't waste any time, and that was the weekend where I met him because I was on the same show, and that's how I know that. And just hearing the ideas that he had, he was always ahead of the curve, even then. And so that's not changed. If anything, he's far more ahead of the curve now than he's ever been before. I mean, who would have thought that Talking Shop and Mania would have been the raging success that it was? And, if you really want to look at it and peel the onion back, I mean, those guys that started the Bullet Club might be the ones to credit for the change in wrestling that we're seeing now with the start of AEW and everything that's come along with that. So, Gallows, Anderson, the Bucks, all those guys deserve tons of credit for revolutionizing the business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I really do think if you didn't have the Bullet Club, you probably wouldn't have AEW right now. And like you said, in a lot of ways, the revolution which has come from that, because it was so anti-establishment, I think from that has come so much positivity and ultimately AEW. And from that, all these new working relationships. So, yeah, absolutely right. One thing I love about Gallo as well, we're still on the subject, he said about the Talking Shop Mania, we asked him if he'd be doing a second one. And he said, well, if the marks keep spending money on it, then yeah. And I was like, that's the most honest Luke Gallows and big LG answer I could imagine. And he wasn't lying, but I respected his honesty at the same time.
That's what he is, man. He's all about making the almighty dollar. Yeah. But he's about having fun in the process. But
absolutely.
He's all about making money too. So I'm glad for them. Again, with the uncertainty that the pandemic brought, them landing on their feet the way that they did and being able to have such a huge success like Talking Shop and Mania, and even the things they're doing in Impact right now and now in AEW. Like it's really cool to see, because those are two just really good dudes, him and Anderson, and and if you think Gallows is funny, wait, you got to get the two of those guys around each other, because they both just feed off of each other, and it's quite the cycle. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. So when we spoke to them both last year before the first one, and you could tell that before we even started recording, I don't think they realised they were on the call yet. They were just taking the piss out of each other because Gallows was wearing a snapback cap or something, and they were arguing over not telling each other which cap they were wearing, just something so stupid like that.
And then LG just goes, oh, shit, I think we're recording. And I was like, yeah, hey guys, yeah. Speaking of Talking Shop, I mean, is that something you'd be up for doing, having a bit of a laugh if the offer came your way?
So, a little piece of inside information. I was actually supposed to be on the first Talking Shop Mania, and I was actually there in attendance, had a brief cameo on camera, but that was right after my knee surgery. So before I got hurt, I was supposed to be a part of Talking Shop Mania. And I'm always about having a laugh, and you can't really take yourself too seriously anymore. Anything like that, hopefully there's a third one, because now I'm able to wrestle again, and even no matter what capacity it would be in something like Talking Shop Mania, because you never know. I would love to be a part of something like that again. It was just a blast, just sitting around and being there for the first one. And it was like, poor Gallows and his wife Beth, their house just got destroyed because it was like Animal House with pro wrestlers. It was just insane for 3 days. So.
Oh man, I love it. But on a serious note as well, then obviously while you've been injured, you've come back from injury, but getting a chance to watch the product while you was injured. I mean, how well did you think AEW did with the pandemic and putting on the show still?
I think they've been ahead of the curve. I know I've said that before when talking about Gallows, but I think there's a lot of creative minds, all the way across the board that are backstage right now at AEW, and I think that they did empty arena wrestling about as good as you can do it. And it's been exciting, even with the lack of fans and capacity and all that. It's just they're still putting out a product that makes you just go, you just knocks your socks off, and you don't know what's going to happen next. And I think that's been missing from wrestling for quite some time, is just that feeling of unpredictability. Who's going to show up? Is it going to be FTR? Is it going to be Matt Hardy? God bless him. Is it going to be Brody Lee? Who's going to show up this week? And you really, for the last 8-9 months, you don't know. Yeah. And now look, we got Kenta and the Good Brothers and all the craziness. And I think that is what the wrestling business has missed for a while, is just that buzz. What's going to happen this week? We can't miss it this week. We have to tune in.
Yeah. I've said that a few times as well. Like, obviously, I know back during, if you go back to the Attitude Era, every week it was a cliffhanger, and you couldn't wait for the next week. And like you said, I think that's been missing a lot. And AEW are doing that again, and it's so exciting to watch. Obviously, with Kenta this past week, I can't wait for this week's Dynamite. Wednesday's too far away. I mean, it's just exciting. It really is. And I know Callum's mentioned a few times as well that do you think, obviously, when we start getting fans back, we're going to have another boom period?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question real quick?
Yeah. I said, obviously, when we get the fans back, do you think we're going to get that next boom period in wrestling?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're already seeing it now, and there's nothing more as a wrestler or as a performer than you want to have the fans there, because I think I can't, obviously, I'm speaking for myself here, but when it comes to my own injury, you can't put the blame on one thing or the other. It's just a freak thing that happened, but I feel like maybe not having fans in the building contributed to that, because it's hard to get your adrenaline up. It's hard to get focused and dialed in at the task at hand, because we feed for that we feed off of that reaction. That's what we live for. And knowing you're going out there in an empty arena and you're not going to get that reaction is kind of weird. And so it kind of throws off your timing a little bit. And I think that, if anything, is probably what caused me to get, injured, if I could put the blame on one thing or the other, which you really can't. But so I think when fans come back, it'll just add so much more to the product again. And I do think we'll get another boom period, because I think fans are going to be ready to come see live action and wrestling and, live entertainment. And there's so many things that have been happening in AEW that I watch and I just go, man, I wish we would have had a full capacity crowd here for this. It's just some of the matches that have happened and the debuts, and again, I'm like, man, if we only had a full crowd, like, that would have been so cool.
Yeah, well, I said to Callum the other night, obviously, as awesome as it was when Kenta came out, imagine if that place was packed with fans when Kenta took that mask off. The place would have erupted.
Yeah.
It
100%.
would have been, it'd have been incredible. Before we start to wrap up, obviously, you did get to work a little bit with New Japan. You competed at New Beginning with Carl Fredericks. What was the New Japan experience like for you?
So actually, I did the New Japan New Beginnings tour 2 years ago, maybe. And I actually wrestled in Charlotte, teaming with Colt Cabana against Lance Archer and Shane Taylor. And it was kind of a unique experience, because I think a lot of the diehard New Japan fans didn't have high hopes for the tour, just because there was a work visa issue and a lot of the Japanese talent weren't able to come over. But I think they didn't leave there disappointed. I mean, there was still, Trent Beretta and, Rocky and so many top tier New Japan talent on the show that I don't think anybody left there disappointed. For me, it was a great experience. It was a new style of wrestling, believe it or not, that I was still learning. Even wrestling with 3 other Americans, because like Lance Archer, for example, knows exactly what the New Japan fans like. So he made me wrestle that style, and it was a great experience and a lot of camaraderie on the tour. We all had a lot of fun. And it was, to piggyback off of what you were saying earlier about Carl Fredericks, I did wrestle Carl not long after that. And I mean, he's super talented as well. I remember really liking the physicality in our match. Like, I think early on I got my nose and my mouth busted open, and, a lot of people kind of shy away from that. But to me, I kind of feed off of it, because I don't think you're ever more in the moment than you are when you get busted open like that. And it just adds so much intensity to everything that you do. But I loved working with Carl, and I think he's going to be somebody that's going to make a lot of money in the business, whether it be New Japan or somewhere else. I think Carl's got a huge, huge future ahead of him.
Yeah, I absolutely do. Totally agree. Obviously, before we let you go, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you, your social medias, any merchandise they can find?
Yeah, I'm on social media at the John Skyler, and it's SKYLER, and it's on Twitter and Instagram. That's pretty much all the social media I have right now. Fans can subscribe to my YouTube channel. They can see old matches, old promos. I released a new vignette on New Year's Day, the 1/1/21 videos. Those were really cool, so fans can check those out. And along with the video, I released a new shirt, the 1/1/21 T-shirt that people can buy. They can order it directly through me because it's not on Pro Wrestling Tees just yet. But I do have a Pro Wrestling Tees store as well. If fans want to go through them, there's plenty of merchandise on there. Or again, they can contact me directly. I'm pretty good about getting back in terms of requests for merchandise. But I've got shirts, pictures, trading cards, memorabilia. I've got all sorts of different things that fans can purchase.
Excellent. Well, dude, we can't thank you enough. It's amazing to see you back. We know you're going to kick ass wherever you are. But for now, John Skyler, thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me.